All right, this is the Cortez City Council regular meeting. Today's Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023, and the time is 7:45 p.m. I'll call this meeting to order and ask you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Can we get the, Donna, can we get the roll call?
DeHaven.
Here.
Yazzie. Rainey.
Here.
Dobry.
Here.
Kiefhoffer. Here. Spruill.
Here.
Medina.
Here. All right, although we are missing Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie tonight, we still have a quorum. Do we have an approval of the agenda, or would anyone like to make an amendment to the agenda as it is presented whole?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Dobry, seconded by DeHaven.
DeHaven.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
Spruill.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Yazzie. Medina.
Aye. All right, we're going to move on to number 2 on our agenda, the consent agenda. The listing under consent agenda is a group of items to be acted on with a single motion and vote. This agenda is designed to expedite the handling of limited routine matters by City Council. Either the public or a council member may request that an item may be removed from the consent agenda at this time prior to the council's vote. A, approval of the council work session and agenda minutes of May 9th, 2023. B, approval of the expenditure list for May 23rd, 2023. C, approval of a renewal fermented malt beverage and wine liquor license for Maverick Inc., DBA Maverick number 497, located at 455 State Street, Cortez. D, approval of a renewal hotel and restaurant liquor license for BMCJ Inc., DBA Stonefish Sushi and More, located at 16 West Main Street, Cortez. E, approval of a renewal fermented malt beverage and wine liquor license for Stokely Corporation, DBA Handy Mart South, located at 806 and a half South Broadway, Cortez. And F, approval of a special event permit application for Monolores Early Childhood Council / Pinion Project to host a teacher appreciation event on Wednesday, May 31st, 2023, on the premises of the Cortez Area Chamber of Commerce, located at 20 West Main Street, Cortez. Does a citizen or a council member wish to have any specific item removed from the consent agenda for discussion, or is there a motion for as presented?
I move that council approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion made by DeHaven and seconded by Dobry.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
DeHaven.
Aye.
Spruill.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. All right, we're going to move on to number 3 on our agenda, public participation. There is no limit to the number of speakers, although public comments will be held to an overall time limit of 30 minutes. Speakers have a time limit of 3 minutes per person, may only speak once, and may not cede time to another commenter. All right, seeing no public commenters tonight, we're going to move on to number 4 on the agenda, presentations. We have none. So number 5 is public hearings. 5A is ordinance number 1320, series 2023. This will be presented by Patrick Coleman, our city attorney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. If you'll recall, 2 weeks ago, we presented an ordinance on first reading with a draft contract amendment for the judge's compensation. And just to remind you, the reason we're doing this as an ordinance is because the charter requires that the judge's compensation be established by ordinance. You have the draft contract along with the ordinance on second reading in your packet. And with that, I will turn it over to the judge for the public hearing portion.
Good evening. I have some updated information for all of you, as I know there were some questions about how often I was in court and how often we were in session. To provide a little additional context, for the year 2022, we would be scheduled to have court 48 times on Monday morning at 9 a.m. That is what is reflected in the salary contract. And then it was a billable rate for the other days. To help you understand how frequently I'm actually in court in session, we had 85 court sessions last year. This year, we had 7 sessions in January, 8 in February. I was on the bench 12 times in March, 7 times in April, and 6 so far in May. So 40 court appearances so far this year. And again, to remind you, the reason that those additional court appearances are required is that in the city of Cortez, individuals can be arrested for municipal offenses. And Governor Polis has just further clarified that we are subject to the 48-hour bond rules, which means if someone is brought into custody, they must be heard. They must have a bond hearing in our court within 48 hours, or they have to be released. So I do everything I possibly can to bring those individuals in for a bond hearing so that we don't have people being arrested, released, then they miss their next court, another bench warrant issues, law enforcement has to arrest them again, and we go through a cycle that's really not a good use of resources for the city or for people that have to go through that process themselves. So we try to have court at least every other day if we have people in custody, which frequently we do have defendants in custody. So to provide some additional context, that's what the numbers look like so far this year. And in the letter that I drafted to you, I believe that in 2021 we had around 300 cases, maybe 350. In 2022 we had over 700 cases in municipal court. So I think that historically there were more cases, and then with COVID, the court really kind of closed down for a little bit because we couldn't safely have people in the courtroom. So that maybe gives a little additional context. I know that I did also provide information about rates from other similarly situated positions. If we were to use the daily rate from the Ute Mountain Ute Magistrate position and apply that to 85 times, it would be more than what I am proposing in the new ordinance. So I don't know if you have any additional questions. I think I've pretty much outlined my position in the letter that I provided to you in April, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Okay, seeing no questions from council, do we open this up for public hearing? Okay, so I'll open this for the public hearing process. Do we have anyone from the public who would like to speak on behalf of this ordinance and what our municipal judge is asking for? All right, seeing no public commenters, we'll close the public comment section or public hearing part of this. Any final discussion, or do we have a motion?
I move to approve on second and final reading ordinance number 1320, series 2023, an ordinance approving an amendment to the professional services contract of municipal judge services.
Second.
All right, motion made by Rainey and seconded by DeHaven.
Kiefhoffer,
Aye.
Dobry,
Aye.
Spurl,
Aye.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Rainey,
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. All right, thank you, Beth, for all the data. We really appreciate that, and it helps us kind of get a picture of all that you do, and thanks for your services, and appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move on to 5B on our agenda, Ordinance 1319, Series 2023, presented by our Contract City Planner, Nancy Dostal.
Good evening. I know oh, there it is. Well, quick. The request tonight is a combination of a right-of-way vacation and minor subdivision plat amendment. There is a third request, which is the site plan for a car wash, which will follow a little bit after your first two. So the proposal is to vacate an existing dedicated alley in the city that has never been constructed. After that, or sort of concurrent with that, they would combine the two separated lots, rededicate utility easements, and then be able to have one single parcel for, to construct the car wash on. The property here is located essentially across from Safeway, that Safeway there, on a vacant parcel. As you can see, there is the dedicated alley splitting the two parcels that they have purchased. There are also dedicated right-of-way for unbuilt streets on either side of the parcel, and the proposal here is to use one of those dedicated right-of-ways for access off of the highway. That is a location that CDOT has designated in the access control plan for a future road access. A little bit closer up. Oh, yeah, you
Okay,
guys
we're working
can't
on
see it, but it's
Yeah.
in your packet. Sorry. Maybe they'll work on that. The rest of us can see it well. So the existing alley here, it is 16 feet in width right now, and the request would be to make that go away and combine the parcels. There's a copy of the actual proposed plat for re-subdivision. So essentially these were very old platted lots with an alley serving them, and then the result will be one large parcel. Probably the biggest issue that we've had, and we'll go over it a little bit, is that there are city and private utilities in that right-of-way now. So sewer lines, the district sewer lines, and a couple other utilities are already in that alley right-of-way, which we will address should you decide to vacate it, with easements being dedicated back. In this case, the proposal is it's a 16-foot alley. They're actually going to dedicate 20 feet in easements, given the number of utilities that are in that right-of-way now. Your criteria for vacating a right-of-way is that it must not conflict with adopted policies or plans. It shall not create a landlocked parcel of land, shall not restrict access to any parcel so that access is unreasonable or economically prohibitive, and shall not result in adverse impacts on the health, safety, or general welfare of the community, reduce the quality of public facility or services, that's kind of our easement issue, or fire, police, protection, access, and utility services. So to give some context, this alley has never been constructed. It only exists across 3 series of parcels here. This is Walgreens right here. I don't know what happened when that was constructed. Either the alley was vacated at that time, or I guess it never existed in that location. So it really wouldn't be possible for the alley to connect through to a built street. Sligo, I believe. And then over on the western side, it also has been somewhat ignored. There's a parking lot there, so I guess you could construct an alley, but then it ends right here. No more dedicated alleys. So not sure what's happened in the past, but obviously it hasn't been and doesn't appear to be used. There is some access around the back of this commercial building here, although not really a constructed alley. Just for future reference, this is all unconstructed but dedicated street rights of way. And CDOT, the access control plan, does include both of these as additional access points onto the highway, although they are somewhat restricted as far as their terms. So when we look at whether or not we're locking off or not allowing access to parcels, we do have a couple parcels here that don't necessarily have good physical access at this point, but that they could construct or include additional use this public right-of-way to access to them. They could also probably construct, like the proposal is, which will construct actual additional city right-of-way down to their point of access. CDOT is hoping that at some point this existing commercial building would also use that access and close off the access that they have direct onto the highway. No one can compel them to do that at this point, though. Only if redevelopment were to occur would that be required. So the Planning Commission has reviewed this, held a public hearing on the issue. They are recommending approval of the right-of-way vacation. There were conditions on that approval that I want to go over. Staff's also recommending that that it be vacated. The most critical condition in this case is that a utility easement be rededicated in the location of the existing easement, so that all those utilities that are in there are protected. As I said, it was a 16-foot alley at this point. There was a request through the review period that it be increased by, I think they asked for 3 feet additional to the north. The applicant said, let's make it even, and we're going to go with a 20-foot utility easement instead of 19 feet as far as to be dedicated for those utilities. So with that, are there any questions?
So Nancy, this I'm sure was taken into account, and maybe I'm just seeing that area wrong, but was that at one point either a wetland, or is it just a drainage area there? It just seems...
No, you're correct. There's actually a floodplain in that area.
Okay.
It's mostly from drainage coming off the highway down this location. We could talk about it at the site plan stage, but interestingly enough, the applicant originally chose to take their access off that side where the floodplain is. After conversations with the city engineer, they decided that it was in everyone's best interest to flip that access over to the west side to avoid some of the filling and construction of a road in that floodplain. So yeah, you're right. It is an issue, needs to be addressed, and will be through the site plan review. Just so you know, Kevin Kistler actually went to pretty great lengths to make that work better. He actually called CDOT, negotiated with them. The access control plan has the eastern access as more of a full movement access, right. So that the applicants were not interested in using the western access, which was right in, right out. Once CDOT saw all the restrictions in the floodplain, they agreed to flip those access points in the access control plan. So it was a great process as far as I think it worked out better for everybody that way.
Right. So does this alley, as you head west, eventually connect in a residential neighborhood, like, I don't know, it'd be like Third or something, or
It actually
Second?
just stops on these 2 parcels. It's not there.
Okay. I mean, isn't there a dirt alleyway? I mean, exactly where this is? Or am I?
Maybe farther west?
Because I just remember it dumping into Walgreens on the east end, but on the west end, I thought it kind of dead end in the neighborhood, and it goes behind the dry cleaning place and that little
Yeah,
complex
right here?
that's right there. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it just sort of hits at the parking lot.
Okay.
A big R, yeah.
Okay.
So you said there's some utilities in the alleyway we have now. If that's vacated, will the city of Cortez be responsible for price in moving those, or?
No, they'll stay, and easements will be dedicated back. So, do I not have it right? There we go. So this will still remain a dedicated easement for the utilities. It just won't be for access anymore. Well, the utilities can access it, so,
And that's the easement that'll increase from 16 to 20 feet?
yes.
I guess, like, what's the difference then between an alleyway and a utility easement? Like, what are the benefits?
Well, an alleyway would be full vehicular type access. Usually they're constructed. They're often benefit properties for loading and additional access to the rear. I think you can see from the way this was originally platted out, this is more traditional city blocks, small lots, that would probably have been served in the back from an alley as far as loading garbage, that kind of thing. You often see this in very old town sites where they're platted in very narrow strips and people would buy 2 or 3 or 4 of them for development purposes. They were often done without looking at topography, which is likely what's happened here, where we have a low drainage area. These lots would be pretty tough to develop much on.
Yeah, so they'll be able to essentially like build a parking lot over the easement, just knowing that like utilities may need to rip it up and access their
Yes.
infrastructure. Okay.
Yes. I've got the site plan, but that's your next, or a couple projects down on the list here.
Okay. Do we need to hear from the applicant in this kind of process?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Nick Barber. I'm with 3K1 Consulting, representing Quick and Clean. We're very grateful and appreciative of staff support, and our client has accepted the proposed conditions.
Great, thank you. All right, I'll open this up to public hearing, or, open up the public hearing to the public for comment. Do we have anyone in the audience that would like to speak about this particular applicant? All right, do they need to be sworn in, or?
John Kennedy,
Okay.
620 East Empire. What she's talking about is Big R, between Big R and Walgreens. You have Subway, Cricket, Quarters Flooring, and then to the east is Big R, Papa Murphy's, the insurance place, and then Plaza Laundry, Bob's Place Appliance, and just to the east of that. Thank you.
Thank you, John. All right, seeing no one else, I'll close this public comment section for this hearing. And then, do we have any questions or more comments from council?
Madam Mayor, I move to approve on second reading ordinance number 1319, Series 2023, approving a right-of-way vacation plat vacating the 16-foot alleyway located on Block 2 of the Veach subdivision and consolidation of all existing lots into one 2.185 acre parcel on property located at 1511 East Main Street, Zone Commercial Highway, with the 3 conditions.
Second.
A motion made by Dobry and seconded by Spruill.
Dobry,
Aye.
Kiefhoffer,
Aye.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Rainey, Spurl,
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. Okay, we're going to move on to 5C on the agenda, resolution number 13, series 2023, presented by Nancy again.
Let me get tricky switching back and forth. This property may look familiar to you. It's the site of the site plan you recently reviewed for the new, I think we called it a retail shell that we, potential coffee shop. The existing front row seat building is located right behind here. This is North Adams, Main Street in this location, City Market, right here. The request here is to subdivide the existing parcel into two. The front track would then be occupied by the new retail shell building. Interesting enough, the back portion of the lot would be consumed entirely with parking lot and utility and access easements. So the building itself that sits here, this is most of the parking for the building. It's always been separated. So they're not on the same parcel, not sure why that happened or why it's a good idea. We did suggest that the parcels be combined, so the parking was actually for the building was actually on the same parcel, but we could not compel them to include this parcel in with the building. So what we've got here is this will be developed with a retail building and parking. We've got access easements coming in off the highway to serve the existing building parking. The access easements will connect with North Adams, although we know there's been concerns with that. The entire area of the tract 1 would be a blanket parking easement. We have asked for some conditions to make sure it's clear who that's dedicated to. We've also asked for some additional conditions on this, in that the proposal here is for 2 30-foot access easements in this location. The problem with that is it won't allow a connection to the west for City Market, where there's actually already a curb cut, an existing access cut. It wouldn't allow for access to the east, where CDOT hopes that someday to close off their access and combine them into these points of access. It also wouldn't really allow for anyone to do anything but drive in, drive back. We want to make sure that there's full access across this parcel as necessary. So we have some conditions asking that you would, we condition the plat before recording, but other than that, the 2 parcels are commercially zoned. They're large enough for the zone district. The tract 1 actually will not be buildable in the future unless it gets combined perhaps with the parcel to the north for any redevelopment that would occur that way. I do know the landowners in the room if you need to speak with them, and I think we have a representative of the applicant also.
Okay, great. If they'd
They
like
have
to-
indicated that they're okay with the conditions that we have requested, though.
Okay. Yeah, if the applicant would like to share anything with us.
Good afternoon, Board. Thank you, City Council. I'm David Salcido. I represent Sauter Miller & Associates. I'm here for my clients, and we're here to get approval on this aspect. I also have, I believe, the owner on my phone right now that I have on speaker, and another additional spokesman, colleague that can answer any questions if you guys have any questions for us.
Yeah, I guess based on CDOT's comments, do these conditions address that cross, where did Nancy go? Access, so that it's not just going to end up being one way in, one way out for safety purposes?
I believe so. Amy, can you answer that by chance?
It's a little hard to hear, David. What was the question?
The question was, does CDOT, have we spoke to CDOT and making sure that we have the access to the east side of the parcel for track 2?
We have not. We can do that, though.
Yeah, because a lot of people exit the city market parking lot and, you know, onto that parcel and then to the road.
Oh, so you're talking about the west side?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So they're talking about the west side, essentially where City Market goes into, I think it's right in between track 2. But yes, I believe we can talk to them and see what we can do.
Okay.
Is there any other questions?
Doesn't look like it. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Appreciate
you very
it.
much.
Okay, open this up for public hearing. Do we have anyone from the public who would like to speak about this application? All right, seeing none, I'll close the public comment section. And any other further discussion from council, or do we have a motion to put on the table?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that council approve resolution number 13, series 2023, a resolution approving a minor subdivision plat to divide a 1.6 acre tract into 2 lots located in the southeast 1/4 of the northeast 1/4, section 26, township 36 north, range 16 west, NMPM, located in the commercial highway C zone district in Cortez, Colorado.
I second it.
Do we need to mention the conditions if we want them?
They're contained in the resolution.
Okay, okay, perfect. All right, motion made by Kiefhoffer and seconded by Sproul.
Rainey.
Aye.
Sproul. DeHaven.
Aye.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. All right, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to number 6, unfinished business. We have none, so now we're on to 7 on the agenda, new business. So 7A is resolution number 9, series 2023. This is the site plan then for the car wash off Main.
Yes, so the request here is for a site plan for a new car wash to be located on the newly combined lots, or as soon as they are combined. I think I went over quite a bit of this already with the right-of-way vacation. Access will be off of the west side of the property in a currently unbuilt but dedicated city right-of-way. This road will actually be constructed to the extent of partially down the property. It would allow in the future the ability for the adjacent parcels to use that should they wish or be required at some point. But in other words, it's a car wash, it's zone commercial, it's consistent with the zoning and meets all setbacks, all site development requirements as far as landscaping, etc. And I think that's pretty much it. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, so that is not a wetlands, it's just a flood area? Because I know that there's specifics on, like, if you construct in a wetlands, you have to replace it somewhere else.
Yeah, it's a FEMA-regulated floodplain,
Okay.
which our city engineer has been very careful to review. They've had engineering studies on the property, and as you can see with this site plan, it keeps more of the construction to the western side and out of that floodplain. The original plan would have had them developing this city road, quite a bit of fill and quite a bit more fill over in that floodplain area. they were working to pipe it, and definitely they have on-site detention designed by an engineer to address those issues.
So I'm curious what the buildup of the access will be on that west end. Like, are they gonna put a full road in? Because are they gonna have to break that sidewalk and put ADA compliant?
Yeah, you can
Curves
almost
and-
see it here on the site plan where they are. It will actually look like a road. I'm not honestly sure, maybe the applicant can tell us how far down that road will be constructed. But I believe it's down to right about here, with full curb and gutter on the eastern side of it. Nick's gonna have to help me out with exactly the details on there. Do you want to wait for the applicant? Or you ready for him?
Yeah, because I'm curious, like, are they gonna tie into like stormwater drainage and?
I'm gonna let the applicant speak to that, so I
Okay.
don't say the wrong
Okay,
thing.
does any council members have questions for Nancy before we hear from the applicant?
I did really quick. I just was curious about the nature of the discussion on the planning commission regarding this project. Did they consider it to be pretty straightforward?
I think it went pretty straightforward. There may have been some discussion about car washes and the amount of water, and do we need more car washes in Cortez, but those are not criteria for approval from
Right,
our land use
right.
code.
I guess I was thinking more in regards to the topography of that lot, but, okay.
And then is this a phased thing? Is there gonna be, more buildup in the future? Is that something we even address in a site plan?
No, I don't know that there'd be much left that they could build on the property. They're using it pretty efficiently.
Okay. All right.
Hi, I'm sorry, remind me again your main concern?
I was just curious of the road, the access on the east side, is that gonna, or west side, is that gonna be built to like city specs? Are you tying into our storm drain?
I know for sure that where the cursor is right here, we will be developing it up until this point, considering we'll need that access point. I'll get confirmation from my engineering team if it's gonna come all the way down to this area here. And to address some concerns in regards to the floodplain, we originally expanded our site all the way to the eastern edge here, and then as we saw the floodplain in FEMA's report, we kind of shrunken our site down a little bit to stay as much out of that floodplain as possible. So we're willing to play ball.
Great.
I have a couple of concerns. First of all, the floodplain in the alley, if this falls apart, who's responsible for fixing it? And also, how does that current location affect traffic if it's accessible?
As far as the eastern access point? Well, we're only currently proposing that we're going to do the western access point. We originally were going to do the eastern, but considering the floodplain and so forth, we're only looking at that western access now.
And it sounds like CDOT approved this, so.
Yeah, they have. We've had conversations. They're looking into doing a four-way access point there. But again, we need to follow up with them and have further conversations. And in regards to water usage, I would like to state that we do implement a reclaim system, so I could have some water savings there as well.
Great. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other general discussion from council?
Let's see. I move that council approve Resolution 9, Series 2023, a resolution approving a site plan for a car wash to be located on property at 1511 East Main, Zone Commercial Highway, located in Block 2 of the Veach subdivision.
Second.
A motion made by DeHaven and seconded by Dobry.
Kefauver,
Aye.
Rainey,
Aye.
Haven,
Aye.
Dobry,
Aye.
Spurl,
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. And I'm sorry if I should have said this before the vote, but, you know, it's the topic that I feel like that kind of stuff should be addressed in our updated land use code and kind of our water conservation plan. You know, I feel like it's worth having those conversations, but for now, you know, if an applicant meets the requirements, you know, there's really nothing we can say about that, so, okay. All right, we're going to move on to 7B, a CDOT Aeronautics Discretionary Grant Resolution presented by Jeremy Patton, our airport manager.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council. So similar to the last resolution through CDOT I brought to you a few weeks back for that simulator, this is for a couple projects we have coming up within the next year and a half. So as with every grant we receive, there's a federal, state, and local apportionment. This resolution with the state must be made to approve what they call a small dollar grant award for the projects listed in your packet. I referenced the attachment that I provided in there. This includes a schedule and a budget for those two projects, which are participate in federally funded apron expansion and federally funded access road rehabilitation, which that's a play on words so that the federal part of the parking lot could get included. The access road being the drop-off for the passenger, the terminal pickup and drop-off, and the south pilot access realignment, so we can make that more efficient and secure. So as in the background with these improvement program grants, the 95% being federal, the 10%, or sorry, the 5% is being broken down state and local, so 2.5. The apron expansion design grant and access road rehabilitation have already been approved by the FAA. Construction of these projects is anticipated in 24 and 25. We were delayed on the parking lot, as you guys probably know by now. We're strategizing that rebid this fall. And as depicted in our master plan, apron expansion is very important to our future hangar development. Right now, we've got Classic Air Medical being constructed. That's the last available with our current apron, so we need to start expanding to the south. The access road component of the parking lot, I already mentioned the passenger pickup, drop-off, and the access for the pilots, realigning those areas. And these elements are together very important to the infrastructure of the airport down the road. Fiscal impact, to break down specific numbers, the total cost of this as outlined in the resolution is $615,527. $584,750 of that is federal, and local of $15,389. Of that, $10,125 you guys already approved ARPA funding for those pieces of the access road of the parking lot. And the remainder being $5,264 will come out of the airport budget, or the airport account. So with that, staff recommends that council approve the resolution for the small dollar grant award with CDOT. Any questions?
Okay, so is this going to cover part of the cost of the parking lot, or most of it, or all of it?
It's a portion of it.
Okay.
The remainder of the element that we had to the parking lot that is eventually going to be paid parking was not qualified for federal funding for financial responsible. Well, and we're making revenue off that, so the feds wouldn't fund it. So we already secured the ARPA funding, and then part of that ARPA was for the county road cost share, which is being done this June. So this is just the piece that's federally obligated. And then the state wanted just to do both of these in one resolution since they're kind of happening tangentially.
Okay.
Again, not at the same exact time, but they want to approve these together. So that's why we enter into these resolutions. So,
And then just thinking about the struggle we've had with bidding, and also if this is gonna be a year or two from now, like with rising costs, you know, how do we incorporate that, you know, like maybe a change in the timeline or a change in the cost?
right.
Or do we have to cover that, or is this, you know, I guess, how is that?
No, so it's going to be very dependent. Because there's federal and state obligated funds here, we would just basically let them know if there's a major change. These are already overestimate in their entirety. They're overestimated, and they obligate these for 2 years at this point. So I asked CDOT if we could break these up after we didn't get any bids on the parking lot. They said, we'd rather you not, just keep them together, get the resolution signed. We are going to secure your funding for that piece of the project and your apron, which that's more likely to happen. The parking lot's a pretty complicated project, which is why we're going to change this timeline a little bit. We've been talking to contractors. They want the job, but the timeline was way too tight, and they don't have the manpower to do it this year.
Okay.
So we're going to try to bid it out again in October at this point. We just, you know, the last couple of days got a lot of good feedback. It's not looking like it's going to happen this summer. They just can't make it happen. So I don't anticipate there'd be a major change in the cost. Now, if there is, we go to CDOT and say, look, this is where we're at. And, you know, they look at my 5-year capital improvement program, and we make adjustments as needed. So I don't anticipate it being a dramatic effect.
How would this affect the Road F and Road 23 repavement? I mean, is there something that the county can go after to help pay for that too, or you know, is that going to happen before or after our parking lot?
That's already happening.
Oh, it is?
Yep. The county and Elam Construction are already working on the timeline for June. They've already started working on the shoulder, kind of fixing the shoulder, doing some crack fill and cold sealing. They're going to start paving, doing an overlay in June.
Okay.
So that's already happening.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, that's all I had. Does council have any other questions for Jeremy? Or?
Madam Mayor, I move the council approve and authorize the mayor to sign the resolution with CDOT Aeronautics for the small dollar grant award.
Second.
Motion made by Dobry and seconded by Rainey.
Dobry,
Aye.
Kiefhoffer,
Aye.
Spurl,
Aye.
Rainey,
Aye.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. All right, thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Council.
Okay, we're moving on to 7C on the agenda, the 2023 library HVAC installation, presented by Rick Smith, our Director of General Services.
Good evening, Council. Madam Mayor, City Council, I'd like to present to you the 2023 library HVAC installation, and I'd like to apologize beforehand for this rather long memo. The 2023 capital budget provides $470,000 for the Cortez Library HVAC replacement and membrane roof replacement. The budget also provides $240,000 for the service center HVAC equipment replacement. Total for the two projects is $710,000. Engineering and design development and the roof replacement is completed. Expenditures to date for the HVAC components that are on order is $482,205. This leaves $227,795 for installation of the HVAC systems for the library. As you can tell, the service center install will need to become a 2024 project, subject to funding availability. So in review, the city has bid the HVAC installation 3 different times. January 13th, we had 3 bidders that it was sent to. They reviewed them. We got 1 bid from Comfort Air at $242,632. The second bid was modified the contract to take out the local Colorado labor law, trying to get another bidder. And we also opened it up to BidNet, which went out Rocky Mountain region, and 301 bidders received that bid request. Of those, 18 downloaded the bid packet. We received no bids. So the third time was bid on April 12th. There again, 307 received the bid packet. 20 of them downloaded it. We got one bid for Comfort Air, $246,430. So you see an increase of roughly $4,000. And I would note that in the third time we bid it, we took out the requirement that it be done, construction be done in the library, either in the spring season or in the fall, early fall, to make it easier on the building load with the heating and cooling. So the April 12th Comfort Air bid for the library was $246,430, and the service center amount was $289,890. So combined, that would be $536,320. On April 17th, the city sent a request to Train to try to deliver the service center equipment, and I've attached in the bid packet an email chain. Basically, they strongly recommended that we do not cancel or put on hold any of that equipment. And given the volatility at the factories on ship dates, and some of the equipment had already been shipped. So on the next page, if you bear with me, the total bid amount was as I mentioned, $710,000 for both projects. Year-to-date expenditures for the library has been $329,790.87. The service center amount was $152,414.35. So combined year-to-date expenditures, $482,205. So the remaining part of the project, the library installation, we have that bid at $246,430. The service center was $289,890, which if we were to do both would be a combined expenditure of $536,320. Taking the service center out of the equation and moving it to the 2024 budget cycle, the Comfort Air bid of $246,430, you'll note, is $18,635 above the remaining money left available in this year's budget for the library. We had several meetings here at City Hall. The police department driveway project, which is also budgeted in this year's capital project, is now projected to come in under budget enough to cover that amount of $18,000 that we're over for this project. Staff would like to recommend that council approve the Comfort Air bid, the April 12th bid for the library HVAC install in the bid amount of $246,430. Apologize again for the confusion and the long list of numbers, but I felt it best that you know the facts.
So the $710,000 that was originally budgeted for library and service center, was that expected to complete both projects?
Yes, sir.
So we'd be basically $300,000 over budget for the two projects. Okay, thank you.
What's the timeline on the police department driveway project?
I believe, and Brian can correct me, but I believe it's in engineering right now. So it'll be done yet this summer, I'm assuming.
Okay. Because otherwise, if that project ends up costing what was expected, or there's not enough, I mean, we'll make a budget adjustment, or we'll address that when it comes.
Yeah, we've got some pretty solid numbers on the police department project, and we're very confident that that's going to come in well under budget, actually more than the 18,000 here, quite a bit more, so.
Okay, great.
Drew, did you have anything you wanted to add to the conversation?
No, Rick, but thank you. You did a great job, in my opinion, on expressing, I think, the situation, and thanks for being so open with the council on this.
Thank you.
Do we have a place to store the service center HVAC stuff?
We are storing it right now in the old sand shed, and it's in the locked yard and still palletized. It's out of the weather, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I move to award the bid to complete the library HVAC project to Comfort Air in the amount of $246,430.
Second.
Motion made by DeHaven and seconded by Rainey.
Sproul,
Aye.
Rainey,
Aye.
Dobry,
Aye.
Kiefhoffer,
Aye.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to move on to 7D on our agenda, City Council Priorities, presented by Drew Sanders, our City Manager.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Council. As you recall, we met together at the April 29th council retreat, and at that time, we refined what would be the council priorities for the next fiscal year. And that'll actually go around 12 months. As we know, this is really meant to be a 3 to 5 year plan for us, and this last year we made some accomplishments, and we're able to scratch a couple of things off and then move on to the next. So you have those in front of you. What are the council priorities as we understood them from that day? Those were sent out to council earlier, and I did not receive any questions or concerns about how they were drafted. So I'd like to recommend that those formally be adopted by our council.
And as for the audience, our priorities are infrastructure improvements, our streets, our airport, our water lines, urban renewal and economic development / incentivize redevelopment, water conservation, housing, and updating our guiding documents like the land use code, the charter, and our code of ordinances, our Parks and Recreation master plan, and a model procurement code document. So.
I move that City Council accept the stated council priorities.
Second.
Motion made by DeHaven and seconded by Rainey.
Dobry,
Aye.
Kiefhoffer,
Aye.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Sproul, Rainey,
Aye.
Medina.
Aye.
Thank you, council.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to 7E on our agenda, which is the appointment / reappointments of our city advisory boards, presented by Linda Smith, our city clerk.
Good evening, City Council. Earlier this evening, we had interviews for 7 of our interested citizens on serving on our city advisory boards. We do this twice a year, in April and in November. Our board seats have term limits on them, and so we keep track of those, and then we can advise council of those openings that we may have. That, of course, can happen if someone was to resign from a board. Currently, we have 5 seats open on the Cortez Advisory Board, 3 seats on the Cortez Historic Preservation Board, and 2 on the Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Advisory Board. Tonight, staff is just requesting that if you agree that we appoint the 7 that you interviewed this evening, and we'll interview the other 3 that we've received letters of interest for at the next meeting, and you can decide for that appointments on that evening. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I think it's great to see a mix of people who have been dedicated to the boards, still wanting to be on them, and also, new people who are interested in contributing. It's a nice mix.
It was really a good idea to do some of the new advertisement we did. Thank you guys for suggesting some of those ideas. So I think a lot of those letters came in from the different ways those were advertised this time. So those were good ideas.
My question is for the Cortez Art Advisory Board. There's both 3-year terms and 2-year terms. Did you discuss the terms with the applicants and who wants which ones?
We did not. We were going to do that after your appointment, if that was to happen for each of these applicants. Some applicants choose to take the smaller term just because they're just learning, and some of the older people, the older applicants want to stay a little longer, but that could be very different in just speaking with each of them. Thought we'd wait until they were all appointed and we can have that discussion either at the Arts Advisory Board meeting or we can call them individually, whichever way we want to do that.
That'd be fine. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't assigning them numbers tonight or anything like that, so.
No, I did not speak with them about those terms yet.
And they all pass background checks?
Their background checks have all been completed with the HR department, and they're all ready to move forward.
Perfect. Thank you, Linda.
Madam Mayor, I move that council appoint the following residents to the boards they have applied for: Ann Beach, Sasha Steinberg, and Eric Quiros to the Cortez Arts Advisory Board, Kathleen Russell and Mitchell Toms to the Cortez Historic Preservation Board, and Mike Levy and Abraham Prophet to the Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Advisory Board.
Second.
Motion made by Dobry and seconded by Rainey.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Kiefhoffer,
Aye.
Dobry,
Aye.
Sproul,
Aye.
Rainey,
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. All right, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to 8 on our agenda, draft resolutions and ordinances. We have none tonight. So number 9 is our city attorney report. Do you have a report for us tonight?
I do, Madam Mayor and Council. This is a tangential city business issue in that the council pays for my membership in the Colorado Bar Association and the Four Corners Bar Association, and the Four Corners Bar Association uses its dues to give college scholarships to local high school kids, and they award 2 of them. And I was fortunate to be on the committee that selected the successful applicants. We submitted letters or contact to the guidance counselors at the local high schools to gain interest and have them publicize it amongst their student body. We only received 6 applications, but I can tell you the committee had a spirited debate because all 6 of them were very worthy, and I was extremely impressed with these kids. Our primary criteria was the grades, obviously, is one criteria, and then civic and extracurricular activities and civic involvement. And if these kids are any indication of what type of students we've got locally, I think the schools are doing a good job, because I was really impressed. And any one of the 6 was a worthy recipient. We had to pick 2, and that was subject to debate, but I just wanted to say that the Bar Association, they're not big scholarships, they're only $500 a piece, but they, I think the key point is that we really had some quality applicants, and I was just impressed with these kids. So when you hear people complain about this generation doing nothing but putting their nose in their phones and playing video games or whatever, that's not what these kids are doing. They really are impressive individuals. So I just wanted to say that, and thanks to the council for paying my dues, and just wanted to let you know that those dues are going to a good cause. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. That's great to hear. All right, we're going to move on to number 10 on the agenda, which is our city manager's report.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. I'd like to report in that the Cortez Kennel hosted the Bergen Spade and Neuter Clinic in conjunction with For Pets' Sake Humane Society, May 11th through 14th. That clinic was actually very successful, with estimates of over 250 animals being served. Also, Vicki Haddix reminded me just before the meeting that there's a blood drive tomorrow held at the Service Center from 8 a.m. until 12 p.m., and walk-ins are very much welcome. Also, I'd like to note that this week, May 21 through 27th, 2023 is National Public Works Week, and our Director of Public Works, Brian Peckins, is sporting the official sportswear of the National Public Works Week. The theme this year is Connecting the World Through Public Works, to show how Public Works connects us all through infrastructure and service, enhancing the quality of life for communities that these people serve. Also, as part of that, and in that same spirit, Public Works and our Brian Peckins has nominated Diane Roberts to be recognized this evening. Diane Roberts works at the Public Works, and she's a project manager, has been there for many years. She is someone who definitely exemplifies the can-do spirit of our Public Works team. Diane has gone above and beyond our expectations since she arrived at the city in 2017. Before that, Diane spent over 20 years as a superintendent in the male-dominated construction industry and brought an outwork anyone mentality to the job. She still does that. She is usually the first person in the office and the last to leave. Diane was hired as our safety inspector, but has done a bit of everything to keep our public works projects on track. She has served as our primary project manager, developed project scopes and cost estimates in the absence of a city engineer, served as our on-site construction representative, and even worked on trash trucks when needed, while continuing to serve as our safety inspector. In the last year, Diane was instrumental in leading efforts to successfully complete our Sligo and Mildred Street capital improvement projects, street improvement program projects, and many other public work projects. She also provides ongoing support to coworkers across a broad spectrum of skill sets and is an asset in every situation. Diane is a consummate professional, a dedicated public servant, and is a credit to Public Works team, or the Public Works team, and the City of Cortez. I'd also like to note that last year this time, Diane was actually slated to retire, but because of those two major road projects, she took it upon herself that she was not going to let it go. She felt that she had something to contribute. She stuck around, and somehow or another, Brian has talked her into sticking around longer. We will take her as long as we can get her. Diane is something else. So that's all I have, Mayor and Council.
Great, thank you so much. All right, we'll move on to 11 on the agenda, our City Council committee reports. We'll start with 11A is the mayor's report on the workshop. In our workshop, we interviewed several people for our boards, the ones that we just appointed. And then we also heard from Montelor's Early Childhood Council and the alarming statistics on childcare in our community and lack thereof. And also want to encourage the community that the state and we are trying to encourage and help more child care facilities because, 40% of, what was that statistic? 40% of children of the surveyed people are on a waiting list for child care. And those first few years are extremely formative and deserve to be valued in our community. And then we heard a review of the draft of our drought management and mitigation plan, which is slated to be on our agenda at our next meeting, the first meeting in June. And then during general council discussion, Councilmember DeHaven brought up building a relationship with the school board, which we're hoping then to have our first board-to-board meeting with them. And then talking about the process for our employee reviews. We have 3 employees, and we're just trying to figure out what the best way process is to have the time to do the review process before we meet with that individual. Okay. All right, so then we'll move on to other board reports, and we'll start on David's end and just go through if any council member has board reports.
The Public Arts Committee met on first Tuesday, and we discussed ways to we might raise our funding and create more revenue so we could go forward with some of our projects that we have planned. So that was the main focus of that meeting.
I met with the library board. It was a kind of a quick meeting, but Isabella gave us a draft of her 5-year strategic plan for the library, so excited to work on that. And I left the car seat and my husband needed it, so I had to leave early. And then I also yesterday went to the Montezuma County Homelessness Coalition, and Pinion Project provided an update on, they've been keeping track of the number of unhoused people in our community, and right now they have 229 people. There's some talk, they would like to put together a memorial to, for the people in the, that we lose every year that are part of the unhoused community here.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, the recreation center hours have been temporarily reduced. Still kind of dealing with staffing issues there, so that's still kind of an issue. The playground days registration is open. Working on adult softball, trying to get together a league, get some more teams. The outdoor pool is going to open a little bit late, but I think I saw on Facebook June 5th. Is that correct? Okay. And things are going well at the golf course. So yeah, things are rolling. We're kind of, I don't know, it seems kind of like an odd season, like it's monsoons now and grass is crazy and it makes it hard to mow and keep up with things. So hopefully it'll get back into a normal cycle pretty soon.
Have you done this? Okay.
Our next historic preservation meeting is in June, but I just would like to say thanks to everybody who made Historic Preservation Day and Historic Preservation Week a success.
Thank you. All right, so then we're going to move on to 12 on our agenda. We have an executive session tonight. Do you have a motion for that?
Yeah. Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to enter executive session for discussion of a personnel matter, specifically to conduct an annual performance review for the Cortez City Manager and to discuss possible amendments to Mr. Sanders' employment agreement as authorized by CRS Section 24-6-4024F1. The executive session will not involve any specific employee who has requested discussion of the matter in open session, any member of this body or elected official, the appointment of any person to fill an office of this body or of an elected official, or personnel policies that do not require the discussion of matters personal to particular employees.
All right, motion made by Dobry and seconded by Rainey.
Dobry.
Aye.
DeHaven.
Aye.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
Sproul.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. God, I swear it's like a bird in here, but it's moths.
They're just big as a bird. Mayor and Council, now that you're going into executive session, I'd like to invite you to exit out this door right here. We'll be using the new jury room this evening.
Great. And thank you to everyone in the audience for being here. When we're done with executive session, we just have one more public participation section. Understand if you don't want to stay for that, so, but thank you for your time.
going to take 7th grade to the park tomorrow. Did Cynthia tell you? Yes. Please feel free to chaperone.
Yeah. Okay, the time is now 10:36 PM and the executive session has been concluded. The participants in the executive session were myself, Rachel Medina, Pat Coleman, Dennis Spruill, Matt Kiefhofer, Lydia DeHaven, David Rainey, Matt Dobry, and, Robert Dobry, Matt Kiefhofer, and Drew Sanders. For the record, if any person who's it's past my bedtime, so. For the record, if any person who has participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matter not included in the motion to go in the executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meeting law, I'd ask that you state your concerns for the record. All right, seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to adjourn. And David second.
All right, motion made by Dobry, seconded by Rainey.
Kiefhofer.
Aye.
Rainey. Aye. Spurl.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
DeHaven.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. And, okay, thank you all for staying late.